Chapter 3. The dining hall of White Rock Castle was a vast, spacious chamber where shadows danced across a high ceiling carved with mythical beasts and the echoes of ancient battles. Normally, I didn't mind the grand architecture, but tonight it just felt like we were sitting in an oversized tomb, waiting for the corpses to arrive. Tapestries lined the stone walls. Their threads were woven with the triumphs and tragedies of our lineage. The long oak table sat under the light. Its surface was a polished mirror reflecting the untouched beauty of roasted deer, crusty bread loaves with herbs, and goblets of wine that shimmered like spilled blood. Though nobody was eating, the air was heavy with the scents of rosemary, beeswax, and the tang of metal polish. Yet, beneath it all lingered an unshakable tension, growing tighter with every breath my family took. I sat at the table's edge. My fiery orange hair cascaded over my shoulders like a river of molten copper, catching the candlelight in sparks of defiance. Or at least I hoped it looked like defiance. In reality, my fingers were tracing the cold, smooth surface of my silver goblet, while my heartbeat thundered with a relentless rhythm, marking the hours until dawn and the slaughter it would inevitably bring. My mind was full of restless, suffocating fears. What if the vampires climbed the walls? What if my magic fails? What if I lose them all? Across me, Sarah, my mother, projected a quiet cruelty. Her own red hair was pulled into a tight, severe braid that framed her face like a crown. Her emerald eyes were sharp and unyielding, though her hands betrayed her with a tremor as she sliced a loaf of bread with the precision of a surgeon, or of a soldier. At the head of the table sat Remus, my father and the supposedly unbreakable Lord of White Rock. His grey eyes were fixed intensely on the depth of his wine. His blue cloak hung carelessly over his chair. His broad shoulders were tense, jaw clenched. A storm was brewing beneath his monolith exterior. The silence stretched thin, being a fragile thread ready to snap under the weight of our collective dread. I opened my lips to speak, desperate to break the suffocating quiet, but my mother's voice sliced through the air like a blade. "Sasha," she said. Her tone was a perfectly calibrated blend of steel and tenderness. "Your shields, how are they holding?" I forced a grin out of myself, letting my magical spark flare against the gloom to hide the nausea twisting my stomach. "Solid as the mountain, Mama. Could stop a vampire mid-leap, or at least their awful breath." My joke carried a sharp edge, a shield of my own against the dread tormenting my insides. Her lips twitched. A brief softness broke through her strict mask. "Good. You'll need that fire tomorrow. And even more." She immediately shifted her piercing gaze to my father, and her voice hardened. "The shields, husband, are they truly secure?" My father moved, his voice roughened with sheer exhaustion. "Set and tested, Sarah. Villains etching the final runes as we speak." He glanced towards the heavy wooden doorway. Villan stood there like a coiled spring. His frame was outlined in dark leather. His eyes were darting nervously beneath a mop of black hair. "A villain? Double the people on the eastern wall," my father barked, "and tell the archers to watch the ridge. Those bloodsuckers love a high ground." Villan nodded. His voice was a dry rasp that carried over the crackle of the fireplace. "Aye, my lord. People are enough, and the archers are keen. Won't miss a fang or a claw." He hesitated as his gaze flicked to me with a mix of awe and worry. before looking back to my father. "We are as ready as stone can be." "Make it iron," my father shot back, his tone cut like a commander's order. "There's no margin for weakness." My mother set her bread aside, with her eyes narrowing to slits of green fire. "And the orb, where does it stand?" "Sealed in the basement vault," he replied. His fingers were drumming a restless rhythm on the oak table. "Blood shields are active. Your blood, Sarah. Only you can break them." "Then I will guard it myself," she declared. Her voice rang with an unshakable, terrifying resolve. "No vampire will touch it while I draw breath." She leaned forward, with her braid swinging. "I've faced their kind before, claws, fangs, and all. They will find no mercy here." My chest tightened violently as a knot of pure panic ran beneath my ribs. "Mama, you don't have to do it alone." "I must," she interrupted, her gaze locked onto mine with fierce intensity. "The orb is White Rock's heart, our shield and our curse. If it falls, we are all ash by sundown." Her voice softened, revealing a rare, heartbreaking crack in her armor. "You have your own fight, Sasha. Hold the walls, burn them with your magic, if they dare to climb." I swallowed hard. The oppressive weight of her words settled deep into my bones. "I will. They will regret crossing me, Mama." A sharp knock echoed through the hall, instantly shattering the fragile moment between us. The heavy oak door creaked open, and Nocturne stepped inside. His black armor swallowed the candlelight like a void, and his visored helmet concealed all but the deep growl of his voice. "Lord Remus, the department's mages have arrived, 300 as promised," Nocturne reported. "They're weaving spells along the 1,000 walls, strengthening the stone." My father stood up. His chair scraped the floor with a harsh sound like a drawn sword. "Nocturne, good timing. We will need their power." His demeanor shifted fully, with the exhausted father vanishing and the warlord taking his place. "Dawn is close. Sarah, to the vault. Guard the orb with everything you have. Sasha, rally the walls. Tell the man that the battle breaks with the sun. I will join after I brief Nocturne and the mages." My mother rose. Her red hair blazed like a torch in the dim light. She crossed the distance between us in 3 swift steps, pulling me into a fierce, desperate embrace. Her arms felt like iron, but I could feel them trembling faintly, showing the mortal fear she would never voice aloud. "Stay fierce, my flame," she whispered, pressing a kiss to my forehead. Her lips were warm against my freezing skin. She turned to my father, with her fingers brushing his cheek as she kissed him. A quiet, tender goodbye that held a lifetime of unspoken promises. "Keep them safe, love. Always," he murmured, as his hand caught hers for a moment before she broke away. Her boots struck the stone floor with absolute purpose as she vanished into the shadowed corridor. I felt a sudden terrible emptiness where she had just been standing. I met my father's gaze, forcing cold steel into my voice, despite the tremor vibrating in my chest. "I will get them ready," he nodded. And a flicker of genuine pride broke through his strict mask. "I know you will." The courtyard outside dwelled with terrifying life, a tempest of steel and sorcery beneath a sky still bruised with night. Soldiers marched in tight formations. Their breath was puffing in white clouds against the freezing air. Their armor was clanking like a war drum's beat. Department mages stood in clusters. Their dark robes were rippling as they chanted. Their hands traced glowing runes that pulsed with raw energy, blue, violet, gold, before sinking deep into the frozen earthen walls. Servants, darted through the chaos. Their arms were stacked with arrows and bundles of oil-soaked rags. Their faces showed sheer exhaustion and terror. The air practically buzzed with the clash of swords, from sparring drills, the hiss of aggressive spells igniting, and the shouts of officers barking orders. It was a symphony of war, whether in its beautifulness or ugliness. I stepped into the courtyard, letting my cloak snap behind me like a storm cloud. The orange of my hair became an instant beacon in the sea of gray stone and muted colors. The ambient noise faltered, then stilled entirely as every single eye turned to look at me, the girl with fire in her veins and the defiance in her stance. The silence pressed against me, thick and heavy with anticipation. I climbed the stone parapet. My boots were ringing on the steps like a call to arms. I faced the crowd. My heart was pounding a wild rhythm against my ribs, but I squared my shoulders and let my voice cut clearly through the dawn chill. Well, folks, it seems the vampires couldn't resist our invitation, I called out, letting my tone sharpen with my signature bite. Rude of them, though. No RSVP, no gift, not even a diesel bottle of blood wine. A bit of nervous laughter broke the tension. It was fragile, but it was real. They are after the orb, but they will have to scrape it from our cold, spell-casting hands, I yelled, projecting my voice to the furthest walls. We've got the steel, magic, and a sunrise they will absolutely despise. So, let's make their welcome a nightmare, because honestly, their clothes are ugly as hell, and I'm done with it. A roar erupted from the courtyard. Fierce and ragged, it was the sound of 100 souls igniting as one. I felt the energy surge around me, a wildfire spreading through my body, and I turned, climbing higher to the wall's battlement. The wind lashed my hair into a banner of flame, grabbing at my cloak as the courtyard below emptied. Soldiers and mages rushed to their posts with renewed, desperate purpose. A young mage stood nearby me. His pale face was completely full of fear. His fingers were trembling so badly he could barely adjust his staff. I stepped closer, dropping my voice to a warm, reassuring murmur. "Hey, you're doing fine," I said gently. "Focus on the spin. Let the magic flow. We've got this, and I've got enough bad vampire puns to keep us going for hours." He finally managed with a shaky smile as his tense shoulders eased slightly. "Thanks, Lady Sasha, I will try." I clapped his arm firmly, then turned my gaze back to the dark horizon. The very first rays of dawn were creeping over the peaks, spilling beautiful hues of pink and gold across the sky, a fragile beauty against the coming shadow of war. The sunlight brushed my face, carrying warmth that seeped straight into my bones. I closed my eyes and inhaled deeply. As the sunrise's energy flooded my senses, my magic flared in response, with a torrent of orange flame moving through my veins. When I opened my eyes, the world glowed with new light. I stood ready, an ember perfectly ready to blaze. The silence returned, thick and expected, as the golden sun climbed higher, piercing the last traces of the night.